I was totally confused. Yeah. One morning, while doing research for my book, I came across this quote from Forbes. It said, "The best place to succeed is where you are with what you have." This sentence is pure contradiction. It says that what we have now is enough, and that we don't need to worry about the future. But is it true? We don't need anything else? Everybody knows that opportunities lie in foreseeing the future, in having an edge. Just like the kind of people that I interviewed for my book. My book, East Commerce, tells the story of how even China, and not only the West, has created new technological models that are now becoming global. Models developed by people like you and I. From India to Indonesia, from Nigeria to Brazil, more and more companies are calling themselves the Taobao or the Tianmao or their own countries rather than the eBay or Amazon. For the first time, it is not China looking at the world. It is the world looking at China. The inspiration behind my book came quite unexpectedly. I've been living in China for over 12 years, and for the majority of the time, my work has been to help foreign businesses start up their operations here in a very traditional way, with millions of dollars of investments and big infrastructures involved. And it was business as usual until 3 years ago, when I realized that words like innovation and internet were popping up all over the place, over and over again. I sensed that technology was going to change how things had been done in China in the last 30 years. And so my work. And I think it was a good time for me for this realization, because I was totally burnt out from my work. I needed some time, and I wanted to see the world. That was my Carpe Diem. I took some time for myself, and I learned about technology. By the way, I knew nothing about technology. And I headed all the way to Silicon Valley, to a place called Singularity University. Now, to earn an executive degree in technology, founded by Google, NASA, and some other big investors, Singularity University is the place where they teach you what is technology, how does it work, and how to use it to impact billions of people. It's a place where people talking about artificial intelligence, self-driving cars, spaceships that are mining asteroids. It's a very, very fascinating place. But while I was there, I had another realization, is that people in Silicon Valley were completely misreading what was happening in China. Yes, it's true. Silicon Valley is the epicenter of innovation. But China is the place where innovation will have its biggest impact. And no one was talking about it. So that was the moment when I sensed that the seeds of my book were planted 10,000 kilometers away from where my journey started. So having had a little knowledge about technology and how it works, now I wanted to understand how China was innovating. So when I came back to China, I did one thing, which came out from my heart, which made no sense. But I put my business on the side, and I went on a journey, which initially I thought would take me 3 months, but eventually lasted 15 months. What I wanted to understand is how China was innovating. And I started from e-commerce and the Internet of Things, because everybody was talking about Ma Yun and Shuangshi. So I said, well, that's the place to start, look at, right? And what I realized is that China was doing more than just copying existing models, as people were saying in California. It was creating its own kind of technological society. That's the moment when I realized that I wanted to write my first book. And by the way, I had no idea how to write a book, but I just felt it. And I ended up interviewing over 200 among CEOs, C-levels, and VPs of Asia's biggest technological companies. And out of all the futuristic and technological things that I was expecting and eager to learn. The most important teaching was not about the future, it was about the present. You see, the more I researched into these people, the more I realized that what really fascinated me was not how they were thinking about the future, but how they had chosen to live their present. One of the first person who really inspired me for what she has done is this girl from Hangzhou called Fan Fan. We met in her showroom in the outskirts of Hangzhou. And when I met her, I thought that she looked everything but a technology entrepreneur. She was cracking joke, she looked like she just came out of university, and she was totally unaware of what she had accomplished. You see, Fan Fan had left a modeling career to start up something that would soon become a multi-million-dollar online fashion empire. She started by buying to downtown Hangzhou and buying clothes at a textile market and selling them on her Taobao store. And she arrived all the way to having her own line designed by her and produced by factories in Hangzhou and sold through her store. She went from one Taobao store to two Taobao stores, from one Tmall store to two Tmall stores. And at the end of 2013, she had revenues in excess of 13 million US dollars. Not bad for a model. The second person who really impressed me for what he has done, former CEO and co-founder of Yihaodian, #1 store, Junling Liu. We met at a banking conference in Hong Kong, and after rehearsing questions and answers for a panel where we were all talking, he took me on the side and asked me, hey, are my answers okay? I mean, we are talking of one of the most powerful tech men in Asia. He used to be a very big executive for Dell, and he was asking me if his answers were okay. And what really fascinated me about Junling is that he had left a very good career in a very advanced stage of his career to jump into the unknown. Why would you leave such a safe and good salary to step into something that you have no idea how it's going to turn up, such advance in your age and in your career? Not that he was old, but he had nothing to prove anymore. He told me that he used to fly to Singapore every month to visit the company headquarters, and during those 5 hours flight, the only thing that he could think of was creating his own company. He told me that the feeling of becoming an entrepreneur is unbeatable. And finally, I had the honor to meet one of the very few foreigners who set up a successful online enterprise in China, Mr. Thibaut Villet, CEO and co-founder of May.com. And we met at his office at the Bund. And just like Junling, he left a very good career, a very well-paid job at L'Oreal to start up his own business. But unlike Junling, he had no tech background whatsoever. You know, for foreigners to be successful in China with online businesses is very hard. If you look at companies like Google or Facebook, you see how they fail miserably. And here I was talking to a guy who not only wanted to reform how you buy luxury goods in China, but who also partnered with Alibaba for over 100 million US dollars. So I know it might sound cliche, but the more I researched into the story of these people, and the more I realized that their resume was anything but perfect. I always thought that to launch such a business, to be so successful, to create such an incredible startup, you need to be some kind of superhero. And that it is important to Carpe Diem to seize the moment, but what really makes the difference between success and failure is to be perfect. And here I was, talking to these people, writing my first book as a total amateur, and they were opening up to a stranger, a foreigner, telling their stories. And I never asked them why they did it. I was too shy to ask them. But then I realized that they have learned that you don't need to be perfect, nor to seek the perfect moment to start up something and be successful. When eHowDN was launched in 2008, it was right in the middle of the financial crisis where people were losing their homes and banks were not giving you any money. What they had learned is that to them, Carpe Diem meant one thing more than anything else: to put your doubts on the side and focus on where you are and what you have. So, if we stopped here, my talk would end something like this. If you're not afraid to step into the unknown, you're both passionate and stubborn, of course, these people's stories prove that if you follow your dreams, you're not afraid of putting up the hard work, then anything is possible. So I exhort everybody here today and now to stand up and march to the rhythm of Carpe Diem. Please stand up. I'm just kidding. Because let's be honest. We gotta be honest. Courage, stubborn, this and that. For every Fan, Junling, or Thibaut, there's thousands of people who did not make it. That's the truth. You know, when you embark on such an endeavor, you go from being big and accomplished to feeling incredibly small. From being strong and affirm to having to prove yourself once again. When I embarked in this journey, I thought that I would be done doing research and writing the book in just 3 months. Halfway across my book, I realized that a general audience will never, ever, ever read a book that looks like a manual. I had to throw everything away and start from scratch. Meanwhile, I was making zero money and burning all my savings. But I was not alone. When Fan started her business, she worked for the first 3 months 21 hours a day, from 6 a.m. in the morning to 3 a.m. of the following day. She would never leave her room, and she would send somebody out twice a day to buy her food. The kind of sacrifice that I've seen her doing is something that goes beyond any limit that I've ever seen. When Thibaut and Junling started their business, they put themselves into such a risky position, investing their own money over and over again for a business that even themselves they don't really know how it would turn up. You see, success is never guaranteed. Success is always unsure. So what is it that drives people in the moment of Carpe Diem? Is it obsession? Is it greed? Is it ambition? Maybe it's all of this, but I think there's something more to it. If there is one thing that I learned over 200 interviews, is that one of the most important things that help successful CEOs overcome incredible difficulties is the idea of benefiting the others and not only achieving their own goal. Hardship can be overcome if our journey is not only about ourselves. When you look at companies like Alibaba and you ask yourself, how can they become so big? How can they become so influent? Well, among the many good things that they've done, I think they've mastered one rule. 我给你一点，你给我一点. By reforming and allowing the economy to grow, they are allowed to grow themselves too. Because impact is the driving factor behind successful companies and successful people. It was certainly the case with my book. What really helped me to go through those very hard moments was the hope that what I was doing was not only about myself. I really wanted my message to get through. I wanted to share my stories. And today, being here with you, looking back, I know that that trip, that journey was worth it. Because the people that I met along the way taught me that just do it matters much more than what if. So I stand here before you today imploring you to consider What would happen if just for a moment we would all acknowledge that where we are and what we have is the best place to start? It would certainly be worthy of being called Carpe Diem. Thank you.